Afternoon, everyone. I talk a lot about housing, and I think housing and affordability is going to be a hot topic coming up. Trudeau has been talking about spending a lot of money, specifically in British Columbia, on making housing affordable, right? $40 billion in their affordable housing funds, et cetera, et cetera. This is a lot of money. However, part of the affordable housing conversation and homelessness conversation, because both of those factors talk about housing people and will be election issues, in my opinion. I think I was watching the Ladysmith by-election, the Nanaimo Ladysmith by-election debate, and they were talking about homelessness. And homelessness is a problem in my community as well. The mayor is being raked over the coals for his inaction or perceived inaction on the topic. But my point is this: the price of houses is marching up steadily for a whole lot of reasons. And one of them I'm going to highlight with another article. But first I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So here's the tweet. It says, quote, "A new report shows that in Toronto, 90% of the populace can't afford to buy a home. The top 10% of income groups in Toronto can't afford to purchase a house at a benchmark price of $873,100. This means you have to make about $124,554 on average in order to afford a home. That's incredible. This is me talking now. $873,100. Well, that's about $128,000 shy of $1 million. Can you imagine when you were young, if your parents' home cost $1 million? That's the average price of a home in Toronto. Here's the graph. Here's a bigger graph. Link is in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Surprise, surprise, Vancouver is the most expensive, with income necessary to purchase a home at $205,475. That's top 2.5%. The Toronto purchase price or job that you need, salary you need to make is $124,554. That's top 10%. And that holds true in Victoria, BC. And these are incredibly high rates. This makes it so that only rich people can afford homes. And this is not doing what the Liberal government is promising. So this is not a good sign for home affordability in the coming years because, well, I mean, there's a lot of factors at play, right? Increase in population, growth, continual growth, breakneck speed growth, including people jumping over borders, filling up tax-supported, Toronto taxpayer-supported shelters. That was happening all through the summer in 2018, last summer, right? And newspaper article after newspaper article. It seems to have cooled off now. I haven't seen much about it, but 40% of the shelters at last check were filled with people who identified as a refugee. Here's the other part of the high home prices. CBC reporting in March 21st of 2019, they say, quote, "Criminals hiding billions of dollars in GTA real estate," watchdogs claim. And I'm not going to go through this article right now, but I've gone through this before. It's called the Vancouver method. What they do is they send drugs to Toronto, they being Chinese triad gangs. And this is another article that I've talked about a whole bunch before. But anyway, I'll put a link in the description. But Chinese triad gangs produce drugs in China and ship them to Canada. Those drugs are sold on the street, and that money is then laundered through just purchasing homes or whatever. And also in Vancouver, it's laundered through the casinos. They call it the Vancouver method. Check it out. Google it if you'd like. But that's what it's happening. So those inflated real estate prices are being inflated by criminals who just would rather launder $200,000 instead of $100,000 in one transaction. Why not? Instead of 2, let's do 3 or 4 or 5. Let's do $1 million. Forget it. I'm buying in downtown Toronto. Let's do $2 million, right? And the same with Vancouver. The same is happening. So the Liberals are dumping $40 billion of government money into an artificially inflated market, but not actually attacking the problem that is money laundering and allowing gangs to infiltrate those markets pretty easily. And the incentive that the Liberals are putting in incentivizes people to purchase because it'll give you $20,000 or something to that effect. The whole system is a little bit contrived and it's a little bit difficult to follow, so I'm not going to go through it right now. But the first movers who sign over 10% of their home or whatever they qualify for, they will get a little break in their home price, but they'll have to pay that back on the other end when all of the homes have appreciated in value, right? 10% of your home when it starts at $100 and then is worth $1,000, well, that 10% is increased in value too. So they're not fixing the actual problem, right? They're throwing money at a fake market propped up by billions of criminal money. And they're, oh, nothing to see here. Everything's fine. It seems strange. It seems weird. You're not solving the problem. And if you get out of the way, the market would correct. And it will be a painful correction, I think. A lot of people think these homes are worth a lot of money, but all of these, and they are in this current market, but there's no incentive for this money to stop, right? Look at the money laundering investigations the RCMP are funding. And sorry, not funding, going through right now. They're being stymied at every step. They fall apart right at the last step. They're ready to go. They're going to pull the trigger. Everything's lined up and whoops, no case, thrown out. See you later. Money laundering. It's happening all over Canada and it's inflating our real estate market. And the Liberals don't care. It's interesting. It's interesting to see. Here's another boondoggle. The carbon tax is coming in 4 provinces who didn't have it and who are fighting it in court. But BC has the highest gas prices in the land with a carbon tax since 2008, and well, it doesn't reduce their emissions. So that's an unfortunate side effect of a carbon tax that's supposed to reduce emissions. It's unfortunate. Here's Doug Ford. He says, quote, gas prices in Vancouver have soared to highs of $1.79 a litre, but emissions have also gone up in BC since they introduced their carbon tax. More proof that a carbon tax is not the best way to protect our environment. It's just about making everything more expensive, and it is making everything more expensive. Here is Vancouver gas prices. Well, the National Post is reporting, quote, as Vancouver drivers suffer gas price pain, carbon tax backers go suspiciously quiet. While British Columbians mutter profanities as they watch gas prices soaring as high as $1.79 a litre, carbon tax advocates who should be popping champagne are instead quietly avoiding eye contact. Anyone who wonders if gas prices matter to ordinary people should spend an afternoon watching a busy border crossing. British Columbians are flocking to Washington state to fill up, where even after the exchange rate, they're saving about 50 cents per litre. For a vehicle with a 70-litre fuel tank, that works out to a savings of $35 per fill-up. Multiply that by 2 fill-ups a week. For the average commuter family in Langley, not a lot of people can afford to live downtown with outrageously high housing costs. And suddenly, you're looking at either spending in Canada or saving in the States $70 extra dollars per week, or $3,600 per year. That's a lot. Back to the article. I scroll down. Some carbon tax backers immediately pounced on the argument, noting that BC has had a carbon tax for over a decade and that BC's high gas prices didn't have anything to do with new federal tax. They're actually missing the point. It's true that taxes are not the only factor that determines gas prices, but they are among the biggest. In BC, different types of taxes account for about a third of the entire price, including the provincial carbon tax, and that works out to 9.8 cents per litre with GST. I want to show you this chart, this article here, and the link will be in the description. It's a Global News article. And I'm just going to go down. Well, I'll show you. This is March 27th. So March 27th, gas was $1.50.4 in British Columbia. And in the rest of Canada, the average price was about $1.20, right? You see that, the blue line there. And then the red line is BC, and it's soaring, 170.7 at the top right of the chart there. So pretty incredible. That's a very high, that's a very fast increase for that amount of money. And gas swings, right? But who knows? But here's the chart I wanted to show you. Gas price breakdown for BC. This is according to Global News, but I have no reason to suspect they're fudging these numbers. So BC carbon tax, 8.89 cents. Oh, do we want a calculator? Yes, let's have a calculator. Hold on a second. So 8.89 cents plus 10 cents plus 6.75 cents. Sorry, this is slower. I should have a number pad. That's all right. Plus 17 cents. This is all taxes. 17 cents is the transit tax for Victoria. Plus 1.75 cents. All right. Gotta love these 75 cents. Plus 7.75 cents. Well, there's the other $0.25 or another, well, $1.50, whatever. And the grand total, 52 cents. That is a ton of taxes every liter of fuel. And people are driving across the border, not paying those taxes, and getting their fill up in the United States. It seems pretty wild and tone deaf. Wouldn't it be better to have lower taxes and keep the money in Canada? Wouldn't it? I mean, is it better to punish drivers? Because what's not happening is people aren't saying, I'm going to sell this car and get a more fuel efficient car or a battery powered car. And how much CO2 is put out for the production and then disposal of those giant lithium batteries? Do we know? Do we know the long-term environmental effects of the large lithium batteries we're producing? Do we know the long-term environmental effects of the laptop batteries or the phone batteries that everybody carries around and discards after a couple of years? Do we know? Yes? No? I honestly don't know, but I'm going to maybe look into it. But it seems it seems very tone deaf and very one-sided to punish gas and oil and then say this is how we fix that, but not have a viable option available, not have the data necessary to say that yes, this is actually the answer. I mean, maybe it would be beneficial to look into creating more efficient gasoline engines. Who knows? They're very efficient now. Is there a comparison between CO2 and the batteries? And I just saw an article about this. This is why I'm going in this direction, but I'm not going to actually bring the article up now because I have to go somewhere this afternoon and I apologize. But that's taxes. Punishing the drivers is not getting a bunch of electric vehicles on the road. It's watching people go drive their gas-powered cars into the United States and not paying these taxes, right? That's what's happening. That's the real world result of high taxes. People are leaving and if they can and not paying the taxes. And other people, well, they're just paying the taxes because they don't have a choice. I often say that polls are there to influence public opinion, not to actually report what the public thinks. That's a terrible picture, isn't it? Oh, he's very happy though. But True North is reporting this. Pollsters and media get PEI election completely wrong, underestimate conservative vote. Did they underestimate it, or did they underreport or purposely fudge the polling numbers? Here's a quick anecdotal story for you. I like politics. I like to answer the questions when they call me on the phone. My wife laughs at me because I'll sit with the woman and talk with them. They don't call me anymore. They don't send me emails anymore because my responses are too conservative. My responses aren't what they want to report. So they don't call me and they don't send me any emails for me to respond to anymore. But I like getting them and I would respond to them honestly because that's interesting. So with that in mind, here is this article by True North. After Tuesday's election in Prince Edward Island, pollsters and political analysts are left scratching their head. Analysts are left scratching their head. How did they get the results so wrong? Polls prior to election day put the Green Party comfortably ahead of the Liberal and Progressive Conservatives, with media outlets already heralding the would-be historic victory for the Green Party of PEI. When the votes were counted on Tuesday, the Progressive Conservatives under rookie leader Dennis King held a comfortable first-place position. The unofficial result reports that the PCs got 36.5% of the popular vote, the Greens 30.6%, and the Liberals 29.5%, far different than what was projected just days prior. One poll released a few days before the election claimed the Greens held a 35.4%, while the PCs only had 30.5%, similar projections to previous polls conducted earlier in 2019. Yet another poll on election day gave the Greens and PCs a 1-point difference. One pollster even projected that based on the Green lead, they should expect to win 17 of the 27 seats in the legislature. In actuality, the Greens only won 8 seats and the PCs won 12, securing a PC minority government. The formerly governing Liberals won only 6 seats in the PEI legislature, down from 18 in 2015, and its first ever third-place finish. Quote, "It's such an anti-Trudeau environment that I don't think anybody can think anything past that because a lot of people are confusing Trudeau with Wade McLaughlin too," said one PC candidate. And Mr. McLaughlin, I believe, the leader of the PEI Liberals, lost his seat in this last election. So anti-Trudeau sentiment is rampant, and the polls are actively lying to you, whether it is through shaping their own results, so they are reporting the results accurately. They're just making sure they skew them a little bit, right? Those Greens, those NDPs, they're definitely going to win because people don't like the Liberals. They love the left. They just hate the Liberals. Yeah, sure. I believe that from Justin Trudeau. Okay, this is the last story for this afternoon, and well, here it is. Scandal-plagued Liberals lagging in electoral preparedness. Okay, the reason I'm showing you this is I want to highlight the seats and how close to losing the majority they already are. Okay, the Liberals have nominated around 180 candidates for the October 2019 election. Back to the article. But overwhelmingly, they're incumbent MPs. That means they're already the MPs who are sitting in the House. That's what incumbent means, just in case you're not sure. So the only candidates they've nominated so far, around 180, are the candidates sitting in the House of Commons currently under the Liberal banner. That's a problem, and I'll explain why. Back to the article. A tacit acknowledgement that they are unlikely to make any gains. There are other strong headwinds beyond the buffering buffeting organizational and logistical challenges of trying to govern and campaign at the same time. Emotions are running high in the country with broad dissatisfaction at the direction in which Canada is heading and the leadership being provided by Trudeau and his government. Pollster Darren Bricker said in a speech earlier this month he believes the Liberals felt that they had more support for their agenda than proved to be the case. He said the public is, quote, ornery for their misalignment over the misalignment of Liberal priorities, the identity politics issue dear to Trudeau's heart, with the more hard-boiled concerns of many voters. So basically, they're just ignoring people. I scroll down a little bit. The Liberals won 184 of 338 seats at the last election, but various scandals and missteps have left them with 177. They need 170 to command a majority, but seem certain to lose a number across the prairies and in Atlantic Canada. Can they retain the 80 they won in Ontario that provided the foundation for their electoral victory? I would say no. I would say absolutely not. And Iverson speculates the same as me, but I'm just going to leave him there. Link is in the description if you want to check him out. And here is another one by Iverson, and he says, Silver Fox's departure from Liberal benches, a symptom of Trudeau's push to the left. And this is more ministers, MPs, not ministers, who are not seeking re-election. And again, this is problematic for Trudeau because if you can't get a full slate of candidates, if people are sick and tired of your garbage liar party, well, then they ignore you, and that's a problem. And they don't want to stand for your party, and that's a bigger problem, especially when you have to fill up your full slate of candidates, right? 338. So anyway, Iverson is saying, quote, the news that Roger Kuzner will not seek re-election in Cape Breton will deprive Parliament of one of its most colorful and collegial characters. Roger the Rhymer has been a Liberal MP since 2000, earning the esteem of his colleagues on all sides of the House with his earthy take on life and politics. His annual humorous rewrite of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas rivals William Topaz McGonagall's Tay Bridge disaster as the worst poetry in history. But his wit and sound judgment will be missed around the place. He is not the only Silver Fox to depart the Liberal benches. There is speculation that Andrew Leslie, the former Canadian Forces Lieutenant General, will not run again for the Liberals in Ottawa riding of Orleans. Neither Leslie nor the Liberal Party returned emails seeking comment. If his departure is confirmed, it is a sign of the times for the Liberals. Based on experience, both should have been cabinet ministers. Kuzner was a parliamentary secretary in John Chrestian's government 16 years ago and has since served as the party whip. Leslie was a former chief of the land staff who was charged with producing a report on the transformation of the Canadian Forces. Yet neither is a true believer in Trudeau's crusade to change the world, and crucially, neither ticks the boxes that matter for today's Liberals. It's no party for old men. And I'll leave it. Oh, no, I won't. In political terms, both are even more antiquated than their years might suggest. They're proponents of the radical center, where realism and pragmatism are more important than idealism and emotion. There is a stall in the political market that has been deserted by political parties, if not by an electorate befuddled by the absence of progressive conservative or conservative liberal voting options. Conservative liberal? No, not anymore. The Liberals have gone so far left that center seems radical right to them, right? And they're finding an alt-right person under anyone who has a different opinion on Twitter. It's very concerning. So, and this should be concerning for Trudeau. This is a bellwether. This is people who have been a Liberal since 2000 saying, I'm done. Because, these political headwinds would be difficult going into any election, I think. So yeah, if you've had 18 years in the legislature and looking at this one, I would maybe skip it too. But man, it is, if I were a Liberal, I would skip it. But I'm not a Liberal, so bully for me. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody, and, I'll keep watching and telling you what's happening, according to me. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful afternoon.